And let's come to the big story of the moment, the Game of Thrones playing out in Maharashtra, getting more interesting by the minute. So here's what's happening in the latest. Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray had a Facebook address earlier this evening where he said he's ready to step down, provided rebel leaders of the Sena come and talk to him face to face instead of putting out messages on social media. In the interim, Shinde, the rebel leader who says he has 46 MLAs with him, has been putting out a series of tweets, the latest of which basically says that the Shiv Sena, to save itself, must leave the unnatural alliance with the NCP and the Congress, because in the last 2.5 years, this alliance has only benefited the other two and not the Shiv Sena. So let's just play out for you some of those comments coming in today.
जर त्याच्यापैकी एकाही आमदाराने समोर येऊन मला सांगितलं किंवा जर त्यांनी स्टेटमेंट दिलं की उद्धव ठाकरे मुख्यमंत्री पदावरती नकोत, तर मी आत्ता मुख्यमंत्री पदाचा राजीनामा द्यायला तयार आहे आणि ह्याच्यावरती विश्वास नसेल तर आज आपली फेसबुक लाईव्ह झाल्यानंतर आज संध्याकाळपासून मी माझा मुक्काम वर्षावरून मातोश्रीला हलवत आहे. मला कोणताही मोह नाही. मी ओढून ताणून खुर्चीला चिकटून बसणारा नाही. मी शिवसेना प्रमुखांचा पुत्र आहे. कोणताही मोह मला खेचू शकत नाही, अडवू शकत नाही, थांबवू शकत नाही. पण हे माझ्या समोर येऊन बोला. उगाच काहीतरी शिवसेनेशी आम्ही गद्दारी करणार नाही, पण ही शिवसेना आहे आमची शिवसेना, कशाला तुम्ही हे करताय? या सगळ्या करण्यावरनं नुकसान कोणाचं होत आहे?
मुख्यमंत्री उद्धव ठाकरे जी है और रहेंगे फ्लोर ऑफ द हाउस पर. अगर मौका मिला तो हम बहुमत सिद्ध करके दिखाएंगे.
All right, Amitabh Tiwari and Neerja Chaudhary are joining us today on the show as we break down what's going to happen next. Now, we've seen a lot of kite flying, and that usually happens in the middle of such political crisis. But Amitabh Tiwari, is it clear and really with no doubt that we can say that somewhere or the other, Uddhav Thackeray lost control of his party? How did such a crisis blow up without him realizing that there was such extent of unhappiness, and is there any chance of him clawing back from this point?
Look, one thing is clear, the government is really precariously poised on the verge of a split, the party on the verge of a split and government on its way out. Now, that is a million-dollar question that you have raised. How did this happen? How is it that such a big rebellion was brewing and the chief did not know? Now, papers say that Sharad Pawar had warned him several months ago. Of course, it is known that Uddhav Thackeray had of late not been very accessible. He handled the COVID crisis well, but had not been meeting his MLAs as much as he used to do at one time. So, and what is also extraordinary is that the rebel group that's broken away had ministers in it. How is it that the security agencies of the state, after all, they had power, they were not in opposition, did not know that they were going off to Surat, and of course subsequently going off to Guwahati is another matter, that this group was actually headed in that direction? How is it that the Home Ministry and the intelligence agencies of Maharashtra didn't get wind of it in time? That's a very serious question to ask. Now, what happens now? There are two scenarios. One is that the rebel group managed to get the magic number of 37 MLAs, which constitutes the 2/3 majority, in order to skirt around the anti-defection law. And with the help of BJP, which has 106, they managed to form a government. And of course, there are independents clearly who helped them in the MLC elections, who will go with them. So it's an alternative government, most likely led by the BJP, supported by Shinde-led group to form an alternative government. Now, the other scenario is that suppose they don't reach the magic figure of 2/3, they are below it. There's talk of 40, 44, but there can be independents in this group. So in that case, will there be president's rule? The BJP is going very cautiously this time, unlike in 2019, and they may think, let's wait for the rebellion to completely fructify and go for president's rule rather than being seen to grasping for power. And they'll get 6 months time in order to wean more people and break the Sena good and proper, and
Right.
therefore the challenger to them in Maharashtra will be considerably weakened. So that could be another scenario. A third scenario is what Uddhav Thackeray is hinting at. I'm ready to resign. Now, if he's ready to resign, and there has been a buzz, could they make Eknath Shinde the chief minister?
You know, we just played out on that point. We just played out Sanjay Raut's soundbite, and he said very clearly that there was no such proposal and Uddhav will remain as chief minister. So we'll have to see. I want to get Amitabh in on the resignation question. Are you taking that offer of Uddhav Thackeray seriously? And the question I asked you earlier, Amitabh, is there any way for him to claw back from this? You're on mute. You're on mute, Amitabh.
Hello. Yeah.
Yes, there you are. Yes.
Yeah. So Uddhav has seen many rebellions earlier, starting from Chhagan Bhujbal to Narayan Rane and others. So it's a game of who blinks first. And Uddhav obviously will be playing the delaying game. His speech today, if you listen carefully, is clearly aimed at the cadre, the voters, and the supporters of the Sena. Literally exhorting them to pressurize the local MLAs in their respective constituencies to reconsider their decision. And the Shiv Sena camp believes that some of them could actually return because nobody wants to face an election today. See, if the group does not have the 2/3 numbers, then it becomes trickier for the group led by Eknath Shinde. Because, mind you, this is not MP or Karnataka. People will not be resigning and then getting disqualified and then contesting for re-elections and risk a re-election. See, in Karnataka, many MLAs resigned and then they got re-elected on BJP ticket. A similar thing happened in Madhya Pradesh. But here the Shiv Sena MLAs know that if they resign, if BJP convinces them somehow to resign, if they do not have the magical number, they might not get re-elected against a combined MVA. So there are many moving parts to this. Nobody wants fresh elections in the state. If they get a 2/3 numbers, then probably they have the upper hand. If they fall anything short of 2/3, or if Eknath Shinde or somebody else is made the chief minister in this alliance, then things could change. And there is one more thing which Uddhav Thackeray also could do, is that he could propose somebody else as chief minister from BJP and not Devendra Fadnavis, because the fight is with Devendra Fadnavis. So if he has to exploit the fissures within the BJP, mind you, Nitin Gadkari's name was being floated earlier as well in 2019 as chief minister. So he might put this forward to BJP that if you want to make Nitin Gadkari as the chief minister, then I could support this decision. So there are many moving parts. Anything is possible here because it's an opportunistic alliance. People who fought against each other have come together and cobbled an alliance. So we don't know what is really going to happen.
You know, honestly, it all seems very opportunistic right now. I mean, we're in the middle of discussing the politics of it, but look at it from a common man's point of view. When it suits them, some netas remember Hindutva. When it suits them, some netas remember secularism. When it suits them, they remember the good of Maharashtra. And it all seems like a power grab. So in that context, Nirja, what is in it for Eknath Shinde? If he does support the BJP with his 40 and now the latest claim I saw was 50 MLAs, he's not going to get the chief minister's position. That's unlikely, close to impossible. If he comes back into the fold, it's not clear what he will get there either. So what are the options in front of Eknath Shinde? I think that's an important question to ask right now because he's the one who will move the story forward.
That's right. I think he will claim that he is the real Shiv Sena, a legatee of Balasaheb Thackeray's party. and that Uddhav Thackeray does not anymore does not anymore have the leadership, and therefore, of course, if he goes to the BJP side, he'll definitely be given deputy chief ministership. And if he goes back to this side, he will, I'm sure, be given deputy CM-ship. So deputy CM-ship is a given. But will he settle for that? You remember 2019, if I'm not wrong, his name was under consideration at one time before they zeroed in on Uddhav Thackeray himself being the CM, acceptable to the two allies. So I think to be able to break away such a large chunk of the Shiv Sena and have the MLAs behind him shows a certain kind of organizational ability, and he's a person who's risen from the ranks. So I think what does he, if he can get 2/3, 37 MLAs of the Shiv Sena behind him, then what is left on the side of the parent Shiv Sena? And then the future will be in Maharashtra will become very, it becomes very unstable. It could be unstable. Long run, it could even move towards a bipolar polity between BJP and the NCP, but that's in the long term. So, I mean, this situation has thrown up, of course, it's shown the fault lines that have existed in the MBA alliance, but it's thrown up a lot of possibilities for the future in terms of where the politics could be headed. And of course, Maharashtra is a very important state for the BJP. It's been eyeing the state ever since 2019. And wresting Maharashtra away from the opposition is a big feather in the BJP's cap. As far as 2024 goes, another state that moves out, and the opposition is anyway very, very weakened at the moment. So there are the larger ramifications of what is happening in Mumbai today.
You know, just as an aside, Maharashtra is a very attractive proposition to all political parties because of the great riches it has within it, and it's a very developed state, great tax contributor, and which is why everyone wants a slice of the pie. So what about the people of Maharashtra? But Amitabh, to the question of what Eknath Shinde is trying to do, he has raised the basic question of who is the real Shiv Sena by saying that I'm the one who is actually following Balasaheb Thackeray's Shiv Sena. Is that a possibility that he can really pursue beyond a point? Can there be a Shiv Sena without the Thackeраys in it?
See, first of all, this question of Shiv Sena not following the ideology of Balasaheb Thackeray, he is also remembering after 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Which means that something else is behind it. He wants more power in the party because he was the one who snatched literally the NCP MLAs from in 2019 after a 5 a.m. swearing in. So he wants more power in the party because he feels he is being sidelined due to the advent of Aditya Thackeray. Now, coming back to your question, Uddhav Thackeray also realizes this, that since Eknath Shinde has invoked the legacy of Balasaheb Thackeray and his ideology, it is very, very important that this battle is not only for the government, but also for the party at large. We have seen how Chirag Paswan has lost control over his party. That's why you see that there was a circular or a notification today from Uddhav Thackeray's party, or the real Shiv Sena today as it stands, that if the MLAs do not attend the 5 p.m. meeting, they could be expelled. But just having 2/3 legislators does not mean that Eknath Shinde becomes the real Shiv Sena, because who is the real Shiv Sena will be determined by the election commission. And there they see at the number of MPs, MLCs, and also the organizational office bearers who has the maximum support in the organization and not necessarily in the legislature. In the legislature, that group can be categorized or recognized as a separate group if they have 2/3 of the MLAs, but it does not automatically make them the real Shiv Sena.
You
And
know,
I doubt whether the cadre of the party is with Eknath Shinde. So the cadre of the party might still be with Uddhav,
yeah.
because this party identifies itself with Balasaheb Thackeray. I mean, there cannot be this party without the Thackerays.
That's the question I asked. But you know, talking about that 5 p.m. deadline, that show up or you will be expelled, we've not heard anything after that. How many showed up? How many were expelled? Is that deadline really there or not? The last we heard was frantic calls were being made to all of these rebel MLAs. So this story still has to play out in its entirety. Anija, what is the possible conclusion you see? Can Uddhav retain this government, or has this MVA alliance been damaged now permanently? Can they come back from this?
Look, it's gone very far. Of course, anything is possible in politics. Anything can happen at the last moment. We saw that in 2019 when Ajit Pawar also left. But the moot question that has been raised is a very important question. Can there be a Shiv Sena without the Thackeray family? Just as we keep asking, can there be a Congress without the Gandhi family? And the other question that's been raised is, will the cadre, and that is the most important question, will the cadre accept Shinde, or will they still look to Uddhav Thackeray? Because it's not only a matter of, in assembly what happens, but also in the organization, in the state. And I think that is going to be a little more difficult, because there is such loyalty. We've seen, people in Maharashtra who for years and years and years and years have been loyal to the Shiv Sena because of that legacy of Balasaheb Thackeray. And because, they feel they won't even look at other parties. They feel hamara kaam to yahi log karte hain. They are next to us. Therefore, the cadre that they have built up is very significant, very critical for the future of the Shiv Sena. Of course, if they are able to topple Uddhav Thackeray's government, Shinde is able to topple, BJP can form a government, it will divide the Shiv Sena right down the middle. The result is that it weakens the Shiv Sena, and the way is clear then for the BJP to form the government, to win elections again in 2024, and it helps them in 2024 general elections again. So I think it's a big setback, a big blow to the Shiv Sena that has come in the last hours.
Absolutely. But if I were to assess it, the biggest risk taker in this entire scenario is Eknath Shinde. If he doesn't get away with this, doesn't manage to split down the party and leave with enough of the cadre, where does that leave him as a leader? So a lot of questions will be answered in the next few hours, in the next few days. But thank you so much, Amitabh Tiwari and Neerja Chaudhary, for joining us to assess the political developments of the day.